Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Washing a paper cup with water can make it feel better, at least temporarily. You probably know that grapes contain compounds that are proven to improve our health, but those same compounds are toxic to dogs, so never give them grapes or raisins. Short dates? Send the message that we're busy, which makes us interesting. They also let us part on a high note and walk away thinking, I can't wait to see that person again.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
Don't get caught without your daily source of senior deals. Pick up your copy of the Senior Voice newspaper. It's your source for schedule and events tailored to seniors, with information you need, like a list of free events in the area. We even have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company to you that fits your needs. And all we ask in return is that you tell them where you heard about them. For more information, call Tom's Picks, 352-804-1223. And pick up your copy of the Senior's Voice at most any business up and down the 200 corridor.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
All right, just about 19 minutes after 8 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. We have a doctor on the phone who's going to talk to us about irritable bowel syndrome.
Yes.
It's an odd thing to say, isn't it? Dr. Christopher Chang is our guest. He is a gastroenterologist practicing in Albuquerque. I love Albuquerque.
Yeah.
I just love the air there. I don't know why. Maybe people disagree. He participated in the studies that led to the breakthrough discovery of 2 new biomarkers for irritable bowel syndrome, which led to a new blood test, and that's kind of the main thing he's talking about, I think. It's IBS check or something. It's a new test to diagnose irritable bowel syndrome. It's described, in my notes anyway, as the world's most common digestive disorder. Dr. Christopher Chang. Good morning, doctor.
How are you guys?
Pretty good. Where are you? Are you in Albuquerque?
Driving on the show. Yes, I am. Well, we have the bluest skies most of the time.
It is such a beautiful city.
Yes, it is. It's really pretty. I just came here from Los Angeles. I used to be at Cedars-Sinai, where Dr. Mark Pimentel and I did the work that led to the development of this test.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So how long ago did you develop the test? And what changes? Maybe I should first ask what irritable bowel syndrome is. Can we do that first, and then we get to the other question?
Right.
What is the irritable bowel syndrome?
Irritable bowel is probably is the most common GI complaint that physicians see, and we think probably tens of millions of folks suffer from it. It's definitely underdiagnosed. And the name sounds really sinister, but I think a lot of your viewers probably suffer from this. It's really, the symptoms are a lot of bloating and abdominal discomfort associated with a alteration in their bowel movement pattern, meaning usually either diarrhea, constipation, or a combination of both. So it's very much a problem that affects people's quality of life and their lifestyle.
Is it caused by what we eat?
Well, definitely diet is a factor, and by changing one's diet, there's an approach to improving the symptoms. But the goal, for a physician is to try to, if possible, get to the underlying cause, if that's possible. It's always, we will try to make the symptoms better.
And is that what the test helps you do? And I guess I'll just ask it that way.
Yeah, let me, if you don't mind, I'll explain what the idea behind the test. The problem with irritable bowel syndrome is it's a diagnosis that's often called a diagnosis of exclusion, meaning we don't have a test that tells you have this problem, in contrast to, say, diabetes, right, where your blood sugar's high or your thyroid isn't working properly. There's a test that measures your thyroid function. In IBS, it's really a description of what I just said, of those symptoms. When people fulfill those descriptors, we sort of say, well, sounds like you have IBS, but there's no real test. And what happens is they end up getting a lot of additional tests to exclude other diseases. And when you don't have those other diseases, that's when we think you have IBS. So that's the problem, and the idea behind the test is we finally, we think, have found a positive biomarker. Now, to be clear, IBS might actually be a number of different processes going on. It may not be just one single thing. So the idea behind the test was to find a biomarker, which is something we can measure, in this case in the blood, and say to the patient, you know what, you've got this positive test, we think you have IBS, maybe we should just go straight to trying to treat that problem rather than go through a bunch of tests such as a colonoscopy and other sort of invasive testing that's usually done as part of excluding other diseases.
Oh, wow. And this is very recent, it sounds like, right? I mean, you guys just discovered it?
Yeah.
And what is it? Is it like a chemical element in our blood, or what exactly do you see, or do you look for?
We actually measure an antibody that our body develops against a particular part of bacteria. So the idea, just to expand on what is irritable bowel, what we think is that a lot, if not most, patients that suffer from irritable bowel syndrome probably developed it after they had an episode of acute food poisoning, or what we call acute gastroenteritis.
Oh, really?
And that once they develop that, so if people who suffer from this think back, they may be able to trace that history. And we know that in part from patients who have been, our soldiers, our warriors who went overseas and were deployed often come back with irritable bowel because of their exposures outside of our country. And prior to their service, they had no GI problems at all.
Does the diagnosis help with the cure?
So really it's, again, treatment directed towards the symptoms. So how a physician wants to approach the treatment, there's a long list of approaches, and that should be tailored to each patient. So the test doesn't really say you should do this treatment, but it sort of helps the physician and the patient figure out what the diagnosis is, and sometimes what it's not.
And there is pain associated with this, isn't there?
Very often, yes, very often. And sometimes the pain is relieved with bowel movements, and the other big feature is bloating. So people feel distension in their abdomen that may or may not be associated with meals. Those are really the typical features of irritable bowel.
Now, we were giving a figure that this affects 40 million people on an annual basis, and you were referencing the soldiers that went overseas. Do other countries have this problem also?
Yes, it's becoming more and more realized as a worldwide problem. It's very possible in other countries, ones that are maybe less developed, the folks there just they haven't really thought through that they have this problem because it's based on, again, symptoms. But I think what we would say are more developed countries, we've applied this criteria internationally. It's an international problem, and the etiology we think is probably international. Applies throughout as well. We've done some projection modeling, and based on the idea that infection might be the trigger for irritable bowel, we're estimating that up to 10% of the American population is affected by irritable bowel that has its root cause or initial inciting event as an episode of food poisoning.
Is it always a chronic condition, or is it sometimes very temporary?
It tends to be chronic. So people that have it suffer from this over years, and often they're not fully appreciated or recognized both by the patient or, unfortunately, by their physician as well. So that's why the number of people that are affected, we think, is probably an underestimate. A lot of people, unfortunately, suffer in silence.
Really? So is there, if it's a bacterial infection, is there an antibacterial that works on it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's an interesting idea. There are treatments that are geared towards treating, for example, bacterial overgrowth, which is known to be one of several causes of irritable bowel. But the theory behind this post-infectious that Dr. Pimentel and I and our research group have discovered is that we think there may be an autoimmune reaction that's occurring in response to elements of a bacteria that caused the initial infection. And that's partly how the test got developed.
The Americans that were affected, did you also break down their dietary consumption? Like, were there more meat eaters than vegans that have this problem?
It seems as though there are certain foods that might be triggering, especially the bloating and the bowel movement irregularity. and those tend to be foods that are not digested as readily, naturally by us as humans. So sometimes really high fiber foods, sometimes foods that are containing a lot of gluten, which we hear a lot about in the news, might be foods that predispose people to having these symptoms. It's not a universal statement, but I think patients who do adjust their diet sometimes have some improvement in their irritable bowel symptoms.
The information that was sent to us gave us a website, ibscheck.com. And once you go there, I just went there, it gives you a choice. Are you a patient or a healthcare provider, right? Or a family member? So does the doctors, if I clicked on the doctor's part, which I didn't, but if I did, would it be giving me instructions on how to administer this test in my own office?
Yes, it should have all the information about how to order it, and it can be done through any number of labs. Or you could contact the company directly, I'm told, and actually put you in touch with an independent lab that will send someone over to draw the blood of the patient and take care of the sample and get it sent to the lab in Massachusetts that does the test.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so with less than a minute, let's make sure that information is included in this interview. Well, how do they find this out? Do they go to that website I went to?
Yes, patients could do that just to get some information, but the best thing for them is to actually print out the FAQ page and bring it to their doctor's appointment. The best scenario is to have with the doctor's guidance, the test be ordered so it can be interpreted, and the next steps after the test is done, what do? You're already connected with your physician on this, so you're on the same page.
Wow, okay. Good stuff. Go to the IBScheck, CHECK.com, IBScheck.com, and go to the FAQ, the frequently asked question page, print it up, bring it to your doctor. Dr. Christopher Chang, thank you so much for being on the air with us.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. The hunt is over for the man accused of killing a wealthy Washington, D.C. family of 3 and their housekeeper. Darren Dillon Wint picked up in Washington.
We investigated and tracked him up to New York City and barely missed him. They continued working through the night. They were able to combine information that we were developing, and we were able to track him to a location here on Route 1 at the Howard Johnson.
U.S. Marshal Rob Hernandez. Police think the family was held for as long as 10 hours before they were killed and their home set on fire. Less than a week after taking control of Ramadi, ISIS has captured another Iraqi city.
The Islamic insurgents took over the town of Husayba when tribal fighters withdrew after running out of ammunition. The town is 4 miles east of Ramadi. The takeover comes a day after ISIS captured the Iraqi side of a key border crossing with Syria.
Fox Radio's Jessica Gallagher. The Senate expected to act today on a bill that would end the NSA's collection of domestic phone records, replacing it with case-by-case searches. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Fox News Early Prime, breaking down business news and its impact on your bottom line. Your World with Neil Cavuto.
That's how I do business. That's why I am business.
Bold positions and brash opinions on the topics America is buzzing about. The Five.
How do you think this will set in with the American people?
This will be the pulse of the nation.
Washington insight and political know-how from the best in the Beltway. Special report with Brett Baird.
The epicenter of the political world is here.
The #1 place for fair and balanced coverage. Fox News Channel.
What's wrong with working hard to make our lives and our kids' lives better? Nothing. At Fox Business, we don't have a problem with success. We have a very big problem with those who get in the way of it. We don't come out of the box bashing those who make money, just the politicians stealing it and the bureaucracies wasting it. We're not just sitting behind a desk. We're out in the field, on the floor, with the folks. Because when a story moves forward, so do we.
Fox Business, the power to prosper. Check your local listings.
Howdy, folks. RL here for Dairy Queen, and this offer's good till 4 p.m. every day at Dairy Queen. A hot, juicy, char-grilled bacon cheeseburger, fried drink, and a sundae for just $5. Or try our famous chicken strips or wraps. Nobody offers all this quality and value but Dairy Queen, and this offer's good till 4 p.m. every day at Dairy Queen, Silver Springs, where we always treat